Good evening, good evening. About to get ready to start the July meeting of the Franklin Special School Board. We will refer to Erickson to give us the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you so much. Welcome to Poplar Grove Elementary. As Mr. Blair said, I'm Alicia Erickson, the principal here at Poplar Grove Elementary. If you will please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we will follow by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Recognitions and good news awards for tonight. We're very honored and pleased to have a good friend of ours with us who has a special presentation for us. So we're going to ask Dale Lynch if he would come up, and Dr. Snowden if he would come up as well.
So may I stand at the podium? Is that what I need to do? Because I've got a few words I want to
Oh, you got some words. Well, after you do words, we'll bring y'all together. Yeah.
Okay.
Say your words of peace first, and then we'll bring y'all together.
Okay.
Make sure you have the time.
Yes.
You can time me. That's okay. Actually, I'm Dale Lynch, Executive Director for the Tennessee Organization of School Superintendents, better known as TOSS. And I'm going to share some things with you this evening that most of you probably already know. However, I think sometimes it's very important to hear these words from an outsider. I will share with you that my previous experience was being a director of schools like Dr. Snowden, probably for about 20 years. There were not many superintendents or directors that could outlive my legacy of 20 years, but Dr. Snowden has. But before I bring the good news for Dr. Snowden, I want to say on behalf of the 145 superintendents or directors of schools in Tennessee, I would be remiss tonight if I didn't say thank you to the Board of Education. I have the opportunity to travel all across the state, to see school boards all across the state, and visit with directors of schools. Dr. Snowden will be the first one to tell you he's extremely fortunate and lucky to have such a great Board of Education. He could not do what he does, and our administrators and leaders here could not do what they do without you playing the critical role that you do. So on behalf of all of our superintendents and leaders in Tennessee, thank you for understanding your role. Thank you for doing what you do to serve the boys and girls in this community and support our educators. Would you help me give them a round of applause? That was sincere, and what I'm getting ready to say right now is also very sincere. I will tell you that I've got a lot of good friends in the superintendency across Tennessee, but there's none better than your superintendent or director of schools, and that's Dr. David Snowden. 23 years as a leader, before COVID, through COVID, after COVID, and all the other things that have to happen as well too. You know, I'm going to say to you again, I know you already know this, that you have one of the best there is, not just in our entire state, but in our country as well. I will tell you that he is a leader among leaders, and he is not only a great schoolman, but he's even a better friend to me. So tonight it is with great pleasure that I recognize for 2022 the Mid-Cumberland Tennessee Superintendent of the Year, Dr. David Snowden, Franklin Special Schools.
but it's 2024 superintendent of the year. My apologies, my apologies. My apologies. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, sir. All right, makes you feel good. Thank you, Dr. Snowden. All right, continuing with Good News Awards, we have a Student Artist of the Month, Ms. Bell.
Grace Thompson, do you mind coming up so we can recognize you? Freedom Middle School rising 8th grader Grace Thompson created a clay coaster using a clay technique known as scaffito. In art teacher Nicole Good's class. To make the coasters, students created schematics and developed a design in the subject matter of their choice. Grace chose a beautiful island landscape with rolling waves. Students glazed and coated their coasters. Lastly, positive and negative space was explored as they carved away the top layer of glaze to reveal the contrasting clay layer. Grace artwork is currently displayed in the central office for the summer and is featured on our employee birthdays for the month of July. A special thank you to Chuck Sugg and Sonic Drive-In for sponsoring the Student Artist of the Month program with a generous $15 gift card. Congratulations, Grace.
Thank you.
Yeah, Grace.
All right, public input. There's a podium to my right. Is there anyone with public input on this evening? Seeing no one, public input is now closed. Reports, presentations, discussions. Dr. Decker.
Thanks so much, sir. Tonight, the Teaching and Learning Spotlight illuminates the 2023 Leadership Retreat. And I hope you enjoyed a few photos that were included in this report. In the FSSD, we are tremendously fortunate to have an extremely collaborative and supportive leadership team, all in the service of our students, parents, and educators. We're also lucky that for 3 days every June, this team gathers to intentionally learn with and from each other in order to optimize our efficacy with regard to serving our students. Several weeks ago, mid-June, the annual leadership retreat took place at Freedom Intermediate and Moore Elementary. We kicked off the multi-day convening with the return of Mr. Derek Young, and we're so happy that we had several board members join us for that. Derek Young is a Nashville-based culture and career strategist and speaker who has partnered with the FSSD for several years around our ongoing equity work. What a pleasure to have several members of the board join us for DY's, as he refers to himself, stirring, honest, and inspirational message. It goes without saying that the focus of his presentation, titled Be Your Favorite Teacher, How FSSD Leaders Continue Delivering Equity to the People They Serve, was one that resonated with every person in the room. Mr. Young eloquently underscored that as leaders, it is our imperative to furnish every person what he or she uniquely needs to thrive, to be aware of and move past any biases, and to widen our comfort zone to ensure all have the opportunity to be their best. And to realize that the very reason we are needed is to navigate and successfully resolve change, chaos, and challenges. In a bittersweet recognition during lunch, the leadership team honored and gave our most genuine good wishes to Mr. Mark Anderson, longtime technology supervisor, for his well-earned retirement. Members of leadership value organization and careful planning, so during the retreat, time is always designated to share and review crucial information, including assessment calendars, quarterly planning guides, and so forth. As well, we heard about plans for new textbook adoptions, intervention materials, and teaching and learning job roles and responsibilities. In developing the primary retreat sessions and activities, TNL seeks to provide high-quality professional learning for school administrators and finance and administration members that will in turn be useful for and readily presented to teachers and staff members from every building and department. Timely topics this summer were our continual quest to fine-tune practices around professional learning communities, essential standards, and related updates to our standards-based report cards, as well as the means by which instructional coaches can have the greatest impact on student achievement. We would have been remiss to not address the district's recent migration to Gmail and the accompanying adjustments to communications, calendaring, and virtual meetings, in addition to peak Google Drive management. Meeting protocols and icebreakers strengthen and aid in focusing discussions. Both are always integrated into the retreat, and this year, principals and assistant principals received a book that contains a plethora of these tools, many of which were demonstrated during the retreat. Dr. Snowden welcomes the team and concludes each day with closing words that inform and frame not only the retreat, but the journey of the school year on which we will embark in just a couple of weeks. Before long, TNL will start to craft the framework of the 2024 Leadership Retreat, and the cycle of heightened knowledge and enrichment will carry on.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All right, thank you. Ms. Lena?
Good evening, everyone. You have your monthly construction report before you today. I'll welcome any questions. If you were able to look at the report this afternoon, it was a revision was made that has some links included in there with some time-lapse photography videos that I think you'll find entertaining. It shows a lot of the site work that's been going on at the central office. Thanks to Nabholz, they have a camera mounted that takes a picture every so many minutes or so, and he put that together. I think you'll find that entertaining, but I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have about the projects going on right now. I'm sorry?
Thanks for telling us there was an update today.
Yes, yes. The only change was those links were added in the middle. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is neat. It is.
No, I just had a question about the two roofing projects. Will they be done before school starts, do we think?
Johnson may be, Franklin probably will not be. They're just putting the final touches on the edging. All the rubber roofing is down. It's all the trim work they're working on right now.
All right, any other questions? Thanks, sir. Approval of board agenda, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Approved. Approval of consent agenda, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Newman,
A second.
second, Parker. All in favor? Approved. Business before the board, Dr. Snowden.
Yes, thank you. Item number 1, consideration of the FSSD budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024. The final general purpose and debt service budget documents, including a summary and complete revenues and expenditures, have been provided to you for your review. During the work sessions, much was accomplished through great questions and discussion by board members. We're extremely appreciative of your diligence during the budgetary process. Also like to recognize Dr. Esslinger, the finance personnel, and the school and district administrators and supervisors who worked diligently during this process as well. We always appreciate the board's continued focus on providing FSSD employees with an extremely competitive and quality compensation package to recognize their dedication to the students and families of the Franklin Special School District. The proposed budget, 23-24 budget, provides a 5% cost of living increase for all FSSD employees. Additionally, the budget provides a step increase or the equivalent of a step increase for all employees, even those who are at the top of their salary scale. Also included in the budget are new positions for attendance coordinator and transportation operations specialist. Also through the budgetary process, we presented and discussed budgets for federal capital projects, food and culinary services, and MAC. We recommend approval of all the budgets presented during the budgetary process.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I move to accept as presented.
Second? Discussion? Seeing none, do a roll call vote. Mr. Stillings?
Absolutely.
Ms. Noonan?
Yes.
Ms. Bell?
Yes.
Blair, yes. Ms. Barker?
Yes.
Townsend?
Yes.
You are approved. Thank you, sir. Dr. Snow?
Item number 2 is the FSSD tax rate for this upcoming fiscal year. Once the budgets have been approved, now we need to approve a tax rate or set a tax rate for both the general purpose and the debt service budgets. The tax rate to fund those budgets is 0.5371 cents for general purpose and 0.1680 cents for the debt service, for a total of 0.7051. This is the same combined rate as the 22-23 budget. We recommend approval of the 23-24 FSSD tax rate.
Thank you, sir. Motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I'll motion to approve that point of order. I forgot to give my annual proviso that I have a spouse who works for the district, but I vote with conscience. Anybody else want to make that same one?
I want to make the same announcement that I make my vote and has no regard for the fact that my spouse too works in the district.
So we have a motion? Second. Any discussion? All right, let's roll call again. Mr. Stillings?
Yes.
Ms. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Blair, yes. Ms. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
We are approved. Thank you. Dr. Snowden?
Item number 3 is a policy revision, notification of meetings, 1.402. This is a first reading. Revisions are to bring the policy to current practice. State law, Public Chapter 300 now requires the notice of board meetings that those notices include information on how individuals may provide public comment on agenda items. Additionally, each board meeting with actionable items on the agenda is required to have a time dedicated to public comment. The law allows boards to establish reasonable restrictions on the length of the comment period, the number of speakers, and the length of time per speaker. This is an area in which boards have significant flexibility. TSBA encourages modifying our policy to meet local needs. The administration recommends approval of the first reading as presented.
Okay. Got a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Mr. Stillings, second.
First reading, wait a second.
No, I don't think you should, because there's other discussion items within this that may want to follow, such as revising other things, so first reading is what I think.
Okay.
Motion by Tim on first reading. You got still second? Or somebody else?
That was
Yeah,
you.
second.
I'll second.
Mr. Townsend, second. Is there discussion?
I had a question. I asked this over email, but I was just, after reading through it, I really couldn't tell what that changed from what we currently do. Is it just that when we announce our meetings that we will add there is always time for public comment?
Yeah.
Just making that statement?
We have to make that statement so people understand that they will have an opportunity to
Right, but
provide
we don't
public
have
comment.
to allow public comment after each item that we discuss. We can still
Right.
keep it at the beginning of the
Yes.
meeting? Okay, I couldn't tell from reading it. Thank you.
I do have one question as well, please. I've never actually looked. Our special called meetings, do we currently post them online?
We
48
do.
hours? I know we give notice, but I wasn't sure if we posted as well. So we already do that part.
Yes.
And that's a new requirement, right? But we've always
We've always done that.
Right, okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Not all in favor? We are approved. Dr. Snowden?
Item number 4, policy revision, appeals to and appearances before the board, 1.404. This is also a first reading. Revisions are to bring the policy to current practice. As in policy 1.402, revisions have been made to the policy for your consideration based on Public Chapter 300, which now requires a notice of board meetings include information on how individuals may provide public comment on agenda items. Additionally, each board meeting with actionable items on the agenda is required to have a time dedicated to public comment. Boards are allowed to establish reasonable restrictions on the length of the comment period, number of speakers, and the length of time per speaker. The policy revision is bringing into current practice and adds language based on the new legislation. The administration recommends approval of the first reading as presented.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion? Move to approve. Mr. Stillings? Second. Ms. Barker, is there discussion? None, all in favor? Approved. That's no.
And just as a reminder, it said if you have action items, if like our board work sessions, there's no opportunity for public input because you're not going to be voting on anything. Item number 5, policy revision, emergency preparedness plan 3.202. Also first reading, a new law that affects many aspects of school safety. Public Chapter 367 requires several policy changes. PC 367 affects our policies 3.202, 3.204, and 3.205. For our policy 3.202, this new legislation requires an armed intruder drill, an incident command drill, and emergency safety bus drill, which are all reflected in our revisions to this policy. TSBA has also provided recommended language. We recommend approval of the first reading as presented.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we adopt on first reading, waive second reading. This is urgent.
Council is make a motion to waive second and adopt on first. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Ms. Bell, is there discussion? All in favor? Yes, sir. That's no.
Item number 6, the policy revision threat assessment team 3.204. First reading, also affected by Public Chapter 367. New legislation requires that all boards have a policy on this topic. We have had this policy in place, and revisions update the legal references only for this particular policy. We recommend approval of first reading.
Once again, I move that we adopt on first reading and waive second reading.
Council to waive second, adopt on first. Is there a second? Ms. Newman, is there discussion?
I just want to make a point that I'm really thankful that most of these changes that are being required, we already had in place. I know the state legislature's been very busy legislating things, and I'm thankful that we have been a step ahead on most of them.
Agreed.
If not all of them.
I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor? Approved. That's no.
Item number 7, policy revision security 3.205. This is also a first reading. Finally, in this series of policies affected by Public Chapter 367, there is a requirement for all exterior doors to remain locked during school hours. For events occurring after school hours, boards can choose to create a local plan on how to admit community members. TSBA has provided language regarding information about the default practice found in the new legislation. Per state law, the default practice will be in effect if the board does not include an alternate local plan. The administration recommends approval of the first reading.
Chair, once again, I'd like us to, I make a motion that we waive second reading and adopt on first reading.
Council makes a motion to waive second, adopt on first. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Ms. Bell, is there a discussion? All in favor? That's no.
Item number 8, policy revision application employment 5.106. Also a first reading. We did pass this at the last meeting on first reading. Language has been deleted regarding employment of support employees upon final review by TSBA on page 2. We recommend approval of the first reading as presented.
Sir? Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second. No, I just second.
I have a question.
Discussion.
This is, we passed it on first reading last time with a modification, or was it to be brought back with the second first reading?
I believe, if I remember correctly, we passed it on first and waived second. So that means it was completely passed. So I guess technically, since it was completely passed, that's why we said this was the first reading.
Changing the policy that we just changed, but, okay, I got it, okay.
Yeah, that was the only reason, because that was a question. If we had not waived second reading, then it would have been easy enough to say this is the second reading, and then we have this modification. But since we went ahead, the board passed it completely by waiving second reading, I thought, well,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'm not saying we couldn't have done it the other way, I just felt like this was cleaner.
I had a question. Since this is regarding employment and we potentially are still employing people, do we want to waive second reading this go around so that it's in? Or does that affect anything? It looks like we just removed redundant language at this point when I look at the changes that were made.
Well, basically, we do not offer contracts for classified individuals, and the TSBA reminded us of that. So that's basically the change there. I mean, you could.
Keep it as first.
Yeah, I think just keep it at first.
We had a motion, a second. Is there any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Item number 9, policy revision assignment transfer 5.115, first reading. Revisions are based on our attorney's recommendations and bring the policy to current practice. We recommend approval of the first reading as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Stevens, Mr. Townsend, discussion? All in favor?
Item number 10 is policy revision sick leave 5.302. It's also a first reading. Revisions use TSBA suggested language based on recent legislation. For districts that operate sick leave banks, which we do, state law contains restrictions on how those days can be used by employees. In addition to the other restrictions, this policy has an added section outlining the purpose and general governing Tennessee Code annotated of a sick leave bank. Policy 5.3021, which follows a revision request, outlines how the sick leave bank operates within the district. The administration recommends approval of the first reading as presented.
Sir, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Townsend, second.
Second.
Ms. Bell, discussion?
Does this change how we actually operate our
No.
sick leave bank, just the wording?
It's just added the wording, but it's the same way we've always operated.
Motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Item 11, policy revision sick leave bank 5.3021. This is also a first reading. Also based on recent legislation, revisions use TSBA suggested language. For districts that operate sick leave banks, state law contains restrictions on how those days can be used by employees. Public Chapter 151 adds additional options for employees by creating an option to use this time to care for minor children in addition to being used for the employee's own illness. But we recommend approval of the first reading as presented.
Sir, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Townsend, is there a second? Ms. Newman, is there a discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. Dr. Snow?
Item number 12, policy revision, staff rights and responsibilities, 5.600, also first reading. Legislative updates with Public Chapter 153 are reflected in revisions to this policy amending TCA 495209, the Educators' Bill of Rights, and in accordance with TCA 4964301 and 4957714, the administration recommends approval of first reading as presented.
Sir, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Stevens, second. Mr. Townsend, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. Dr. Snow?
Item number 13, policy revisions, physical examinations and immunizations, 6.402. This is a first reading as well. This policy, along with others, are affected by Public Chapter 353, which includes new options for parents, guardians regarding certain extracurricular activities and district actions. Specifically for 6.02, the new law gives parents, guardians the ability to opt out of health screenings conducted as part of the coordinated school health program. To align with these changes, TSBA has provided recommended language. We recommend approval of the first reading as presented.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Parker, is there a second?
I'll second, and I had a question. Do we know? Oh, I
Discussion?
seconded.
Yeah, okay. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Do we have a rationale for why this came about, this policy?
Because they could.
Okay. And we're not held responsible if the student who's not a screen has something happen to them, or they're participating in an activity?
No, we're abiding by the law. Nurse Fisher went over this, the new changes as well. So,
What are some of the screenings they might opt out of? I'm just curious.
I will tell you right now that all our parents actively have to opt in. They can decline screenings, and they do that when they register for school every year. So we don't just do passive permission, we do active. A lot of times they will decline a BMI, is one of the recommended screenings for next school health. Blood pressure is one, sometimes they decline that. Sometimes they decline vision and hearing. But BMI is the most declined in screening that we have here.
Motion second. Any other discussion? Not? All in favor?
One opposed.
We have opposition.
yeah, we got it.
All right, Dr. Snowden, Director of Schools report.
Yeah, before we get started with the Director of Schools report, I want to take an opportunity. These two individuals need no introduction, but since they will be taking over new responsibilities as of July the 1, I wanted to officially introduce them. Dr. Amanda Munez is the new principal at Moore Elementary. And Dr. J.P. Orman, who is now the principal at Poplar Grove Middle School. First summer MAC program. Our summer MAC program was held this year at Johnson. It's with the theme of It's a Good Day to Read a Book. Each week uses a unique idea around a book with activities to extend learning in art, writing, STEM, cooking, and sports. We had 243 students enrolled in the program in grades K through 8. Our students enjoyed field trips to Chuck E. Cheese, of course, bowling, and Adventure Science Center. Students also participated in our summer reading program where they logged the books they read and earned a prize for their efforts. This program was also encouraged through the FSSD Story Bus coming to visit. We also provide the opportunity for students to create clay art with Third Coast Clay and learn the art of painting with local artist Shannon Haas several times throughout the summer. We had a wonderful partnership with the Gentry Foundation this summer, providing tutoring, STEM classes, and a book club for our students. We're very appreciative of their support. Matt would also like to thank the administrative and custodial teams at Johnson for their support in helping to make this such a wonderful summer for our FSSD students. Would also be remiss without a big thanks to our MAC supervisor, Amanda Parks, and her office staff who organizes our programming behind the scenes and always does an excellent job. The Rebecca Lounsbury FSSD Summer Feeding Recap, a total of 7,828 breakfasts and 13,441 lunches were served on the 23 weekdays between May 31st and June the 30th. Ladies and gentlemen, that is tremendous. And when you think about the number of kids and families that would not have nutrition, that's a phenomenal service, and we're so thankful for that program. Meals were served through the Summer Learning Academy, Young Scholars, MAC, WeMAC, Street Delivery, Boys and Girls Club, and Franklin Housing. Johnson Elementary was our open site where families could walk in and have breakfast and lunch with us. This year, the Food and Culinary Services tried to expand our reach by adding 4 apartment complexes to our routes, the Magnolia, the Whitney, the Madison, and the Granville. We took the Granville off our route in mid-June as no children were coming to take meals. The other 3 apartment complexes were added to our Franklin Estate and Cadet routes. Street Delivery in the Franklin Estates, Franklin area served 1,515 breakfasts and 2,272 lunches, and the Cadet and Liberty areas served 826 breakfasts and 1,227 lunches. The Johnson open site had an average of 7 to 9 children eat with us eat lunch with us daily. We only serve 15 breakfasts during this time period. This summer, we were awarded a youth ambassador from No Kid Hungry, Alexis Criplin. Alexis is the daughter of Paola Criplin, our parent liaison of MES, at MES. Alexis has spent the summer learning about all the moving parts of a successful summer program. Alexis will wrap up the summer with teaching nutrition and cooking classes with the MAC students July the 24th through the 26th. And the last day of our meal service for summer 2023 will be July the 21st. Again, thanks to Ms. Cross and the food and culinary staff for making this program a success year after year. A recap of our young scholars. YSI had a successful 2 weeks. Final enrollment, for both weeks was 583 junior scholars and 245 senior scholars. YSI was also able to provide 35 scholarships across both weeks. Students were engaged in an exciting week of challenging and exploratory classes. Some of our exciting classes included arts and crafts such as painting, knitting, and drawing, problem solving such as chess and Lego projects, language classes, cooking classes, sports, Harry Potter book club, music and drama such as dance and theater, violin and guitar lessons, and science such as aerospace workshop, crime scene investigator, and STEM classes. A big thank you to the hard work from Summer Carlton and Teaching and Learning, and our directors Eric Ellison, Crystal Epping, Holly Osteen, and Travis King, and all our YSI teachers and staff. And of course, Marnie was always around too. She's still consulting. She just can't let it go. Summer Learning Camp and Stream Recap. We were thrilled to have approximately 335 students who completed the FSSD Summer Learning Camp Learning Loss Bridge program. The feedback from parents, students, and staff have been extremely positive. This year's Rising Kindergartens were included in Summer Learning Camp for a half-day experience. In addition to PE, the summer's new offerings included art and a behavior therapist on staff. The STREAM component was once again integrated into the Summer Learning Camp day, thanks to Dr. Decker, Summer Carlton, and Teaching and Learning, and the host of others to make these camps a success. EQUIP training, the new teacher induction program will be conducted July the 26th through the 28th. The first 2 days will have the entire group, with the last day focusing on our special ed teachers only. We look forward to working with our new teachers and administrators as the new school year begins. Also, a progress report of the brand analysis work conducted by Brand Metal will be this Friday at 7 a.m. at a scheduled work session for the board. Matt Brown, co-founder of Brand Metal, is preparing to present a report of the analysis with considerations of recommendations for next steps to include in our strategic plan. And then you also have a list of conferences and meetings update. That's all I have. Thank you.
Sir, any questions for Dr. Snow?
Is that meeting Friday at
Teacher Center.
I really enjoyed being able to go and see both young scholars as well as our summer learning camp. And I especially loved that reset room that they had right outside here. That was such a cool experience. I mean, I felt better just going in the room and then coming out. I love the concept of just being able to encourage kids to just be able to have a place, a safe place where they're able to go. And so I just wanted to mention it was a joy. And if I'm not mistaken, Marnie mentioned that her great-grandchild was able to come to Young Scholars. So
Who is this?
Marnie Cotton. She mentioned that, and I thought that was just phenomenal. She was just so excited about that.
I forgot to mention, Ms. Duke created this, and we put it at your table, at your seat. That's our openings currently. Well, it probably has changed, Ms. Duke, right? It changes every day. We either hire somebody or somebody else resigns. We're about to put a sign up on every door that says you cannot resign. You're stuck here. No, we really can't do that, obviously, but we don't want to lose anybody else. So, questions regarding that information?
Sir, updates?
Nothing additional, sir.
Yeah, your packet has our typical monthly reports from our HR departments and financial reports. Our sales tax collection report reflects a 4.8% increase over the same time period last year, and we concluded the year with a 12.7% increase for the entire year, and that puts the revenue line for sales tax a little over $585,000 over budgeted expectations for this year, and that's, if you remember, primarily due to the increased ADA percentage we had this year.
Okay. Comments from the board? Yes, sir.
Just want to say that I think our hearts are heavy with passing of Mary Mills, so I think we ought to think about her legacy, and she deserves that. So I just say, think about Mary Mills.
Very well said, sir. Any other board comments? Just real quick, I'm very proud of the summer programs that we do each year, and as Ms. Bell, I was able to do Young Scholars, Summer Learning, Story Bus. Actually caught up with the feeding program the other day, so just proud of what we do in the summer to keep our kids engaged in the programs we do, and so thankful to all of you for doing that. And again, as Kevin said, keep Ms. Mills and her family in mind, and also once again, congratulations, Dr. Snow. If there's nothing else, we are adjourned.